You want to do the intro? Or do you want me to roll it?
Oh, it's fine. It just like your just like your dad coming back for cigarettes. We return when it feels good to us.
Yeah, your only hours when it's tax time. Whenever we got a hole burning in our pockets. The
Yep.
the extra $2.32 this podcast makes is really going a long way with gas prices being as high as they are.
Oh yeah.
All right, so welcome back. Obviously, we had a hiatus here. It's my fault. It's my fault. It's kind of how it runs, between the dynamic between me and Darian. Darian's always ready to go, and I'm always like trying to plot on what time I have available. Um, Long story short, just got married. A few other things, kind of working like multiple jobs, so it's getting a little hard to deal with the podcast stuff. But we're getting there. I'm gonna try to keep this going as best I can.
That's best.
But yeah, so we're back, and our at least our first topic for today is going to be soons and why we slash mostly me hate them
Yeah.
with a passion. So long story short, I've been watching anime for a very long time, and I've been there through the ages of Tsunderes. They've changed multiple times throughout the years. It used to be like, oh my god, like the old like '90s Soons where they would just yell at you and physically abuse you, and now we're at the point where Soons are just pretty much bullies, and everyone's okay with that, and I can't understand the mentality. You know what I mean? But we're just gonna dive into why I dislike them so much and why I can't understand why people enjoy the character type. The archetype doesn't make any sense to me anymore. It
I
really doesn't.
I want to go over after Danelle says his piece. The two reasons why I think. The first one I think has more substantial evidence. The second one is my own personal reason for why I believe people feel the way they do. But I want Danelle to get it all out of the way so I can deconstruct it.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with some Soons that I really dislike. Um, I would say Louise. If anyone knows Louise, it's a good one. Familiar of Zero. Louise essentially she uses some busted magic by mistake because she's terrible at using magic, and teleports the main character into another world where he is now her familiar. Long story short, all of this is entirely her fault. She pulled this man out of his life, basically said, "Stop whatever you're doing. I don't care what you're doing. You're now my familiar, and you are worse than dirt." She treats him worse than literal animals. The other people in that world have animals for their familiars, and they're all waited on hand and foot, cared for lovingly. And then there's Louise in the background, basically like, "Hey, yo, listen, do what I want, you stupid dog. You're worse than garbage." Even though she is the reason for all of this. Mind you, he's also one of the most competent people in that entire series. That man got sucked into this world, has no idea what he's doing, learns to literally fight with the best of them, and she's out here not even able to cast a basic magic spell without it blowing half the school up for no freaking reason. And she
Yeah.
talks down to him every single time. She is legitimately one of the worst Soons I think I have ever seen in anime. There's others that have worse traits, but I mean, if we're talking strictly Tsundere, like I'm not talking like Soons that are also like, border like yanderes and whatever else that like kill people. Like, I mean, if we're just talking for being an awful person, I think Louise, she's really up there. She might even take the cake if I'm being honest. But another one that I dislike, Kagome. Kagome has to be one of the worst female characters in anime, at least for this, like for Soons. Anyways, like she's got other redeeming qualities I will give her, but it almost always falls flat on its face when compared to the bad. Everyone always tells me how Kagome was their first waifu and how they loved her as a character. Every other female in that character is 10 times better than Kagome is. No questions. Songo?
Yeah.
Hey, can we do we even have to bring it up? Songo. She exists. Therefore, Kagome's garbage. Like, let's be real. What do you get into an argument with Kagome? Like, okay, so Inuyasha, Kagome, they get into an argument over something completely unreasonable, mind you. It's, oh my God, Inuyasha, how dare you talk to the woman you love this entire time, even though I tell you I hate you to your face. How dare you talk to her? How dare you talk to her? How dare you look in her general direction? Sit, boy. Let me break your back real quick. And then 5 minutes later, oh no, Inuyasha, I did the thing you told me not to do, and now I'm being abducted by demons. Help me, right? This is what she does. She gets caught every single episode for doing something she's told not to every single time, and then when someone tries to help, aka mostly Inuyasha, tries to do the right thing, she tells him, "Sit, boy," and screw something up every single time. And I can't understand why people tell me that she's supposed to be such a great of a character. Darian knows this. I had such a I had such a like I had such a high level of hatred towards Kagome to the point of borderline obsession. I used to stay away. Mind you, this is little me. Like, I'm a grown ass man now. This is
Yeah.
little me, like I was a kid slash like early teens.
Just say 20
I
years ago.
Yeah, realistically. And I used to sit there on the internet, back when dial-up was a freaking, okay, well, not dial-up, but like old DSL was a thing,
Yeah.
scouring the internet for Kagome hate fanfic,
Yeah.
where people would literally just make fan novels and short stories about Kagome getting into situations and actually failing because no one helped her because she was being an ass. And I used to sit. That would be like my rest before bed. Like my little piece before I get my 4 hours sleep with my insomnia. Like that's what put me to bed. Everyone else got bedtime stories as a child. I used to read fanfic about Inuyasha not coming to rescue Kagome because she told him sit and he broke his back, like stuff like that. But anyways, I digress. I could go on about Kagome legitimately for hours. Darian knows this. If I didn't read fanfic, I would have wrote them myself. I would have written them and they would have been published. I probably would have had a small niche like fandom based on that because I can't stand her. She pisses me off so much. Like, you guys can see my eyes kind of diverting a little bit here and there right now. It's because I'm actually looking at like YouTube clips right now of Kagome screwing things up. I can't show it because of copyright, but if you could see what I'm seeing, I can't understand why people like her so much, because as a character, I get it. People like nuance. People like the fact that things aren't, always black and white, they're gray, but she's legitimately a bad person. A bad person. Yeah, okay, I'm collecting the Shikon jewels and this, that, and the other thing. And everyone says, yeah, she's doing that, and that's respectable. Yeah, that's fine. Whose fault is it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Whose fault is it? It's literally her fault. So you can't use that as a defining factor, for her character being good. You can't, because that's like me walking and stepping on a Lego, right? And picking it up and going, "Oh man, who put that there?" Well, gee, I'm the only one in this house. It must have been me. You know what I mean? Like, I shot myself in the foot and then fixed it. Nobody's praising me for that, but they're praising her for that. She took the one thing that every person in that world wanted, basically destroyed it or almost destroyed it, and now the whole adventure starts where we have to now look for it and put it back together again. All because Kagome got petty and couldn't mind her damn business. Inuyasha has been searching for that thing for how long? Finally has the opportunity to become a full demon? No, but my needs though. Excuse me? Excuse me? Ma'am, you're not even the right time, period. Period. Okay? So what does your opinion matter? Let me shoot the frickin' like I can't honestly. I can't do it. It bothers me. And then now the third like this. We're gonna go on big threes later in the end of this,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that was number two of my big three, and here's number three of my big three. Narusagawa from
Yeah.
Love Hina, the by far worst dumpster fire of a freaking human being in every sense of the matter. As far as Soons go, Naru takes the cake. Okay, she takes the cake because at least with Kagome, she was a bad person, yeah, and she abused the sit boy like no tomorrow. Okay, now imagine if the dynamic didn't work that way. You know, Inuyasha is a strong dude,
Yep.
Kagome is not, right? She abuses the sit boy because it's the only thing she has on him, right? If anyone's ever seen Love Hina, essentially you have Naru and
Keitaro.
Kitaro, right?
Yeah.
Kitaro.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
Keitaro.
you have Naru and Kitaro. Kitaro is the main character. Basically, he was a student studying to get into Tokyo University, failed multiple times, but he kept trying to get in. Meets this girl, Naru, and basically a situation happens. Now they cohabitate, they share a room, sorry, they share a house, blah, 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 living under the same roof and all the hijinks that comes along with that. Well, the problem is Naru is soon borderline sadistic, and she also has retard strength. Okay, so like Keitaro will mind his business, Naru will do something, and then go, "Oh my God, Keitaro, how dare you!" and proceed to physically just decimate this man because she has literally gorilla strength. She can punch holes in buildings and do like a quadruple roundhouse kick that can kick the roof off a freaking house. Okay, but she just every chance she gets because she knows he's weak. You know, he's a very easygoing guy, so he doesn't really snap back the way he should. So she abuses that, and the part that makes it worse is the fact that he likes her. Makes no sense in my opinion why he likes her, but he does. Okay, that just chop that up to freaking Japanese standards and how they're super repressed, so their whole society is kind of backwards when it comes to relationships. No insults, right? No insults. It is what it is. That's what they found enjoyment in back in the early '90s. But whatever. He likes her. It is what it is. But the problem is, she likes him too. Refuses to admit it for multiple seasons. And when she does admit it, you know what she does on her spare time? Fawns over the freaking sensei she had when she was in school openly in front of him. But then episodes later, have these moments where Keitaro, which she's like, "Oh yeah, but I like you though." If that's not the most backwards thing, I don't understand. So you physically abuse this man, emotionally damage this man, and then mentally abuse this man by torturing him. Literally tell him, Kitaro, I like you because you're such a this, you're such a this, you're such a this. Kitaro feels good because the girl he likes is complimenting him for all these things. Next thing you know, Kitaro, you ain't shit. My high school sensei's better, even though he doesn't want her, mind you, he doesn't. Okay, but she's gonna do all of this, and then mind you, beat his ass for getting other female attention. The
Yo.
other girls that show up in the series that like him for being a good, decent human being, he's not even fawning over them like the way he is for Naru. But he looks in their direction and she abuses the man. But I don't like you though, right? And then next minute, but I like you though. It makes no sense. She's the most contradictory, hypocritical like piece of work in the whole tsundere genre. I can't think of anybody else who makes me like want to have like a brain aneurysm just to get out of the situation. Legitimately, I can't. She's nuts. But anyways, I've talked for a while, so I'll let Darian go on about this because I'm telling you right now, I could. I've got a list. I've got a list. This is like a hit list. If there was ever a moment like isekai into an anime, a manga, or whatever, I'm telling you right now, Naru, I'd be giving her the Naru treatment. That's it. She's not he equal lefts, equal rights. I'm telling you right now, you hit me the way you hit Kitaro, I'm telling you, you're gonna be getting a roadhouse like Peter Griffin every chance I get. Roadhouse. What are you doing? Brushing your teeth? Roadhouse. I'm not joking. Going to school? Roadhouse. Eating dinner? Roadhouse. That's it. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. I'm sick of the double standards here. Okay, it's okay if she does this because Soons are supposed to be adorable and so love everyone loves the Soon unconditionally because they're like, oh, they're just misunderstood. No shit, they're misunderstood. You punched him in the face and then 2 minutes told him you loved him, and then on the way helping him back up, you suplexed him back into the freaking ground. You get what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't make any sense. They're loved unconditionally. But meanwhile, you pull an Endeavor, everyone hates you for 6 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
You get what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just so backwards. Does that mean Endeavor's a Soon? Like, is it?
No, I would say
Because look at
because
him
with
now, right? He's sitting
yeah.
there going Shoto every chance he gets. Like, he's trying to care for his son, but guess what? He did a bunch of bad shit too. I didn't like the dude for God knows how long. I still
Oh
don't
yeah.
like him, but I think he had his redemption, and that's good. These Soons never get that. They never have repercussions. They're never held to the same standard as everyone else. They just chop it up to, oh, well, she's a tsundere. What did you expect? Just leave it. It's fine. It's fine. Everyone loves goddamn Asuka. Everyone loves Asuka.
Who I'm also going to talk about.
Yeah, he's gonna talk about it. I can't stand Asuka. I think she gets mad because she trained her whole life for something, and someone else who didn't want to do the job is better than her, and she's hating. She's a hater. That's what she is. And it's okay to be upset about it. I've said it before to Darian. I've said it to other people that have asked about it. It's okay to be upset, but it's not okay to talk shit to the person who's doing better than you because he doesn't even want to be here and he's better than you. You just have to understand that that's how the world works, okay? There's always going to be someone better than you. It doesn't matter if you're naturally talented or if you work super hard. There's always going to be someone that is better than you. So when Rin gets mad, God damn, I can't remember what's the main character's name again.
Shinji.
Okay, yeah. So when Asuka gets mad at Shinji for being a coward and wanting to run away, from the viewer's point of view, some people don't like that about him. But realistically, let's be honest here. If any of us were put in that situation where you were told, hey, sorry, you were just born to do this, you were a natural at this, go out and do it, right? Go fight for our country, go save the world. How many people here are just going to be like, oh yeah, that's my calling, I didn't know it till today, but I'm going to go out there and risk dying and be perfectly okay with that?
Oh,
The
and Danelle,
dude's, yeah,
don't
go
forget
for it.
I only say this because it's only something I realized years later. Is Shinji's fear is way more rational when you remember they feel everything the robot feels.
Yeah,
It's
no,
not like regular robots where it's just a mechanical
yeah,
machine. The Abas
it's
are basically
biological.
they're
Yeah,
bio weapons. So you feel everything, hence the term nerve and all that stuff.
yeah, so it makes sense. And I couldn't stand how she would basically, like, whenever he would come back from a fight, shit on him, right? Because he doesn't want to be there. And it's like, you should just be there for the sake of being there. Sorry about that. But yeah, you should be there just for the sake of being there. I don't understand that because he's just a regular dude and he's a kid,
Yeah.
right? Like,
They're like 14.
nobody being thrown into war is just going to be fine. And the fact that she would put her, because it's jealousy, let's be honest, that's what it is,
It
right?
is.
When you chop it down, she would put her jealousy above basically like his human rights. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he's a regular person. He has a right to feel the way he does. He's still going out and doing it regardless of the situation. He may not want to. He may not run away. Or sorry, he may want to run away, but at the end of the day, he's showing up. He's doing what he has to do. It may be really hard to get him there. Let's be honest. But at the end of the day, he did what needed to be done. So I didn't like Rin's attitude. I got it in the first moment, because it's shocking, it's jarring for her, but it should have gotten better. It did a little bit, but the snide remarks and the snarkiness stuck around, and it just always irks me. So
Yeah.
I never fully got over it. But yeah, I'll let you take it.
Okay. So before I break into Asuka and then everyone else, I mostly just want to go over two things about Tsunderes, especially the reason why it irks Danelle so much, where other people are okay with it. We've gone over the whole people just tend to like characters that are flawed and have shades of gray rather than black and white. The term tsundere mostly derives from the last part dere, which is like to be like something, and then the first part soon, which was to be like coarse or rough, essentially just meaning like, hey, this person is rough on the surface, but when you break through that barrier, they're a lot more nice. Originally, tsundere, at least in the term that it derived from at the beginning, was in visual novels. It was a fan term most people gave to a character that would first come off as distant and cold, and then when you start to talk to them more and go down their route, they open up to you and they're a lot nicer.
Oops.
The problem is a lot of anime took that part and infantilized it almost. So where in the beginning the person wasn't necessarily like a giant massive bitch, she was just someone who keep to herself, right? Almost introverted, but not like socially inept introvert, and more just stay away from me. She eventually turns into someone where it's like, oh yeah, no, this is a sweet girl underneath. Most tsunderes nowadays, I think, mostly derive from doing Asuka wrong. Where Asuka's character makes sense whether you like it or not, the thing that makes it all tie together is that everyone in that show has problems with communication and they all do it differently. Where Shinji is running away from his problems, Asuka is essentially lying to herself by putting on a showboating persona that she's hyper competent and can do anything, and she's actually a massive failure at a lot of things. One way the show went over this was actually in having the two characters prepare for fighting an angel where they had to be perfectly in sync with one another. Asuka blames Shinji for the fact that their teamwork is garbage, but as soon as Rei and Shinji start working together, it becomes clear enough Shinji's not the problem, it's her. And she can't take that. She runs away and she's getting mad. And it's like, God, friggin' Shinji making me look bad. But it's like, no, it's her problem. It's something
Mm-hmm.
she has to come to terms with. And by the end of the episode, they do start to realize, okay, we can't hate each other's guts. Like, we're gonna be a team going forward. So while the snarkiness in her character stays from that episode onward, there is more respect for Shinji as a pilot in her compared to back then. A great example being when the third Ava unit becomes a thing, and she's the first person to be like, "Why has no one told Shinji who the pilot of that thing is? It's one of his friends." Like everyone else is just not telling him, and it's not like a matter of, oh no, no one got the chance to tell him. They're actively avoiding telling him. And she's the only one where it literally she was about to say who it is, gets attacked, and she can't tell him no more. And then later on, when Shinji gets so mad, he's willing to blow up the Nerve headquarters. She's the only one that says, yeah, no, I get it. Like, what'd you guys expect? This kid's been on edge for God knows how long. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like you could see she has gotten better specifically towards Shinji, even if she's still essentially mad at him for making all of her insecurities just something that's brought to the surface. She brings out the worst. I mean, he brings out the worst in her essentially because it's a constant reminder that she's not that great. But nowadays, a lot of tsunderes they forget the part where the character needs to have depth and where Asuka genuinely hates Shinji and she doesn't like him by the end. She simply respects him by the end. A
See, I don't
lot of
want to. I don't want to cut
yeah,
you.
go ahead.
I don't want to cut you, but that's another thing where I use Asuka as an example for traits that I don't like,
Yeah,
but I'm still willing to give Asuka the benefit of the doubt when it comes to a lot of it because by the end of the series, I do have more respect for her as a character because she has grown. Right, I didn't like the personality trait.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the snarkiness towards him, I think is uncalled for, but she definitely does have that character growth that I like. Um, but like if I go back to someone like what do you call it, like Louise or something like that,
Yeah.
Louise doesn't really get that. You know what I mean? Like there that level of depth within the character is not there. It's like the writer basically said, "I'm going to put this character in, and she's just going to be bad." And then later in the series, okay, maybe she's not so bad now, but there isn't a lot of reasoning as to why I should think otherwise, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
There
in
isn't
terms
as
of
much depth to the character, at least not within the anime. They try to go into certain reasonings like, oh, why you should feel bad for them, but
yeah,
I don't really say feeling bad and depth are the same thing. It makes you take a step back, right? But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I now feel bad for you and dislike you. You, if you go through these bad experiences, right? And the story goes the extra steps to show you these bad experiences, and then they try to make it seem like, okay, they're not so bad of a person, then why are you still such a bad person? You know what I mean? Like, there should be, once you have that realization, like, okay, maybe I should stop treating him badly, then stop treating him badly. Why does it immediately go back to you treating them badly, but going, oh, but I like you now? And that's what I don't understand. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
At
No,
least you can go back to Asuka, but yeah, I just wanted to chime in where it's like, okay, no, Asuka has more depth, right? They
mhm,
explore, and it makes you come to respect her more,
mhm,
as well as have more of an understanding as to why she feels the way she feels. Yeah, of course, jealousy is a part there, but it's also frustration
yeah,
because meanwhile, Asuka, I want to dislike Asuka, but I can't actually commit to it
yeah,
because I know she's actually a hard worker as well. And
yeah,
that's the reason why she feels so bent. That's the reason why she's jealous. It's the driving force for her.
mhm,
It's a mix of things, right? Meanwhile, Shinji kind of just does his thing and it works. So it would make anybody upset. What the point I was trying to drive home was that I don't care if she gets upset.
mhm,
It's just coming to that realization of why you're upset, and then maybe not doing the, you know what I mean? Like, maybe not perpetuate that bad character trait or that personality trait once you realize the reason. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing to be ignorant and then continue being ignorant, but once you
yeah,
become self-aware, then I feel like you should start to correct, which she did a little bit, of course, by the end of it. But I mean, it's just that general understanding of like, okay, Shinji's a regular person,
yeah,
you're you're not, right?
yeah.
So the mentality can't be the same. So I always felt bad when she would basically shit on him. But yeah, no, go back to your point, go
Yeah.
back to your point.
Well, I was mostly done with Asuka, but you actually helped me remember something where I was like, Asuka, I think part of the reason too why she works to so many people is beyond the whole like or dislike. That part doesn't really matter. Asuka herself, I think it works very well too. That the same way we were talking about Kagome and Inuyasha, there's like a back and forth where Shinji and Asuka doesn't have a back and forth. I
Mm-hmm.
always respect the fact that Asuka's low hanging fruit, I should say, if she ever does use it against Shinji, it's always things about him specifically and not something she drags in elsewhere. Like she she has this thing where if she shits on someone, it's something they've done. It's
Mm-hmm.
never like, and this is why your daddy doesn't love you. She doesn't do stuff like that.
Damn.
It's instead like,
Uh,
oh yeah, like you're never gonna make people respect you if you're such a wet noodle. Like she does stuff like that where it's like she's
yeah.
definitely preying on your insecurity, but your insecurity has to be a problem you can fix and not something that like someone else's opinion of you makes a warped perception of who you are, right? Like at the end of the day, Shinji's biggest problem is him running away. Whether or not he's justified in that opinion, she's not going to essentially pull on something else like everyone's gonna die because you can't get your shit together, rather
Mhm.
than like what she normally does where it's just like, God damn it, why didn't you wake me up? It's just like, of course I couldn't wake you up, you would have hit me. It's like, well, you should have just taken it. Like that's terrible to say, but she's at least staying on topic is what
uh,
I guess I should say. There's no kicks in the nuts. But
yeah.
to kind of go back to the whole Kagome Inuyasha thing slightly. I think that pairing is so aggravating for you, mostly because of the way other people react to it.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
I think most people can agree that the Saito Luis thing is abuse until like super late, versus like the Inuyasha Kagome thing where people are like, yeah, they're so great together, and then for you it's like, are you kidding me? She's terrible to this man.
Hmm.
And more, I think other people would end up just going like, okay, but like teenagers, right? Naru no longer gets that benefit of the doubt. Like I can look at Louise and be like she's a stupid 15-year-old, but like I can't do that with Naru. She's 20. Like when you're acting like a stupid teenager, it
Hmm.
makes it more aggravating that you're acting like a stupid teenager. That's why I think it's so funny that you introduced the three of them in the order that you did, because I think they
Hmm.
also relate to your level of vitriol towards them,
Yeah,
where
no, like
Louise is at the bottom.
Louise is at the bottom of that list.
Yeah.
Because to me, she's just a spoiled child, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like the way she acts, I know, but at the end of the day, it's childish, stupid, like nonsense.
Hmm.
It's her talking bad. That's it, right?
Yeah,
But then when you get even further up, where it's like Kagome, right? There are legitimate stakes, and she's out here doing the dumb thing she's doing.
yeah,
That bothers me. And then you have Naru, where now they're grown ass adults, right? And half the situations that they get placed in, with Kitaro getting essentially bombarded with, whatever, or insulted, or this, that, and the other thing, half of them, not even half, the vast majority aren't even his fault. The vast
yeah,
majority. Sometimes there's him, and it's just like comedy hijinks, and you know what I mean, like um some reason to throw fan service in there. He did a trip fall, had a lucky encounter, or did
yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? That, whatever. But then the situations where it's like, oh, I walked into the bathroom in my house and you're getting changed, and you go, you should have known I was in there. And it's like, how? It's my house, and the door wasn't even locked. I didn't
Yeah.
know you were supposed to be in here, right? I walk in, it's your fault. So I'm gonna scream at you, I'm gonna punch you in the face, and I'm gonna call you the pervert. And then when they get out, it's like, oh, man, Naru, you really shouldn't have hit him like that. Like you're in his house and you didn't say anything. Oh, well, that stupid pervert shouldn't have just walked in without, knocking first. And then, like, dude, who knocks on the door in their own house? Like,
So for a bit of context for people that don't know Love Hina, the dude's aunt ended up basically dumping the bathhouse onto him to take care of, while she just kind of goes off and does her own thing. She comes back and checks on it, obviously, but it's hers, and she gave it to him to take over. So now he's the proprietor while he stays there because he needed a place to live while he was going to Tokyo U, because he finally got in at the end. And while that's obviously now his stay, he's also responsible for the upkeep of the place. So there's days where he has to clean the bathroom, and Naru's just in there, and it's like, oh, what the hell are you doing here, pervert? And it's like, he doesn't need permission to go anywhere in this place.
yeah,
It's his job.
it's not even just the permission. The other parts that bother me, it's when it's things that are like scheduled,
Yeah,
and it's things that she is made aware of, but then she manages to either A, forget, or B, ignore it, and then walks in and then blames him. And that's what I'm sitting there, like, I get so angry because I'm like, half of these things are your fault, man. The half of them are her fault, right? Like, if you come home from work, right? You live by yourself. Say this is a one-bedroom apartment. You live by yourself. You come home from work. You open your door. Do you expect someone to be in your house? No, no, you
oh,
don't. Is it your fault? Yes, apparently. Apparently it is,
apparently.
right? No, it's the dumbest mentality ever. But that's obviously a broad, like, that's a very, you
That's a
know,
common trope.
yeah, it's a common trope, whatever. You can ignore that if you want to. But then there are the other things that really annoy me, where she basically tells him that he's garbage. And when other people come into the picture and basically tell him that he's a good person and that they like him or whatever, right? She gets mad that he's now happy, right? Like, he's getting a little bit of attention now. He's happy because he struggles with self, like, I
Worth.
wouldn't say like self worth issues,
Yeah.
right? And now he's getting a little bit of attention, and he's not even gloating about it. He's just happy. Like, some people are treating him nicely,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
in comes Naru to ruin the freaking moment, coming in with that, like that RKO out of nowhere. Like, you ain't shit, for no reason other than I hate seeing him happy because I'm jealous that other people like him. Like, that's
Now,
all it is. That's all it is.
I want to call out one thing just for a bit to
Yeah.
seem a bit fair. I'm only saying this for anyone that actually has seen Love Hina and is screaming at us that like, oh, it's not just Naru or whatever. I'm like, okay, so for one, Makoto, I'm gonna get this out of the way. She absolutely early on, like especially season one, had moments that were what I like to call disproportionate retaliation, which is the term I'm going to use for most things involving Tsunderes, where it's, hey, I bumped into you and then you stabbed me. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's not a responsible reaction to that situation. And these are obviously that type of thing. In comedy, that's super common with specifically Japanese comedy, but it's also a thing in Western comedy too. It's just anime likes to go above and beyond by having it be anything that a regular reaction to something that seems reasonable is thrown out the window for something completely unreasonable.
Mm-hmm.
Makoto can basically slash the entire building in half. So there has absolutely been moments where Keitaro's worried he was going to die. I am not going to ignore that that has happened in this show multiple times. The reason why Naru gets all the vitriol where Makoto doesn't is two things. One, Makoto's upbringing is far more conservative than anything close to Naru. Like, Naru is supposed to be a regular person just living there, where Makoto has been trained since birth to basically be a warrior, but then like also like you could see from the way she dresses, it's super old school. Like she's wearing like full on, not even like kimonos entirely, but like that type of like not hakama. I guess kimono is the better term, but like these things make it very hard to see the curves of a woman, and
Oh,
so
what's it
yeah.
called again?
Oh, you know the term?
I can't remember now. As soon as you said it, I had it and now I lost it. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. But like in those situations, like Makoto has at least in the beginning been a bit less forgiving and then works her way into more understanding of like, okay, yeah, this is kind of the wrong way to react to this person who's always taking care of everything, right? There's also the first episode where obviously everybody disproportionately retaliated when he walked in on them all in the bathroom and he got punched by literally everyone. But that
Mm-hmm.
was also the fault of Mitsuki. Just for the record, it was. I remember that episode.
Yep.
um, but Naru always takes the cake by essentially launching this man all the way to the top of the, not even the roof, like over the damn like building top, and then this man falls down and whatever, right? And it's like, hey girls, don't do that. He's gonna be the new landlord, basically. And it's like, what? Right? Blah blah blah. Naru gets all the shit for two simple reasons, and they're the reasons I at least agree with Danelle on, and it's the fact that like, hey, listen, I get that you like this guy. You're sending mixed signals when you do
Mixed
this.
signals?
Look.
Bro. Bro. Mixed signals?
And the
Darian,
other,
hold up. I don't want to cut you. I don't want to cut you
yeah,
because Love Hino, that was part of my childhood. Okay, that made me that partly made me the man that I am today.
yeah.
Okay, mixed signals is an understatement of the year. They had I oh yo, let me Google this real quick. Let me see how many seasons is in Love Hina because I can't remember on the top of
I
me.
think it's two, and then there's OVAs, and then the manga's like over a
Seasons.
hundred something
Let me
chapters.
see this. Okay, so let me. Okay. Okay. Jeez, I can't. Apparently can't find that right now. But either which way, my point is, I was in for the long run. I don't know how many episodes. Like 24 to the 24 36 or something like that. I can't remember.
Mm.
But long story short, you would have a climax or like a semi climax to like a season, right? And it would end with Kitaro and Naru sitting there together in some park somewhere. Snow's coming down. They're side by side. They have this moment, and the feelings are conveyed. And then the next season, it's Naru hunting down that sensei she had a crush on, right? And while this is happening, Obviously, Keitaro was upset and this, that, and the other thing. But at the same time, Keitaro was like, okay, well, if she likes him, then I want her to be happy. Blah blah blah. You know the whole, happy man main character shtick. And another girl, the other childhood friend, she likes Keitaro
Yeah,
as well
Utsumi.
as there's the other girl as well. Like even Makoto liked him too, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so they did all like him. It's just Shinobu's a middle schooler. Kaola uh, is Kaola. Like I'm sorry, but
She's
like,
silly.
yeah, she's too silly to be
She's a
reasonable.
comedic relief.
Yeah, Motoko, because I was saying her name wrong this whole time. I'm sorry. Motoko, she would have been a lot closer to that because she is like similar to them in age. Mitsune is too old. I say too old, but that's
But she
because
did
she's around
tease
the same
him,
age as his
and
aunt.
she
Yeah,
she did tease him, and she also mentioned like a couple times, like, yo, listen, if y'all ain't taking him, I might.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, it was put out there, but the
Mits,
moment Naru found this out, even though she was in her whole "oh, but my sensei though" phase, she got mad at him.
yeah.
She got mad at him. So when you say mixed signals, I'm like, bro, what is that? What is that? That's not even mixed. That's downright diabolical. That's gone. Like she's checked out. You know what I mean? Like I can't even understand the mentality of it. And people are always telling me like, "Oh yeah, it's because in her mind she knew they couldn't be together because he was a teacher, she was a student." Listen, you think that matters? It doesn't matter. Okay? The fact that she was pursuing this man even if she knew she was going to fail. So what does that mean? I can sit here, look you in the eyes and say, "Oh, I like you as a person, right? I like you, but I'm gonna keep you in my back pocket
Yeah, yeah,
just in case the person that I already like doesn't work out." You can't do that. You can't just keep a side piece for later. Like, yeah, let me just keep that. Let me store that in the good old back pocket here, just
yeah.
in case. A little rainy day.
Just
You
be an
know,
orbiter.
it's so dumb to me. Like I can't understand it. So when you say mixed signals, I'm like, bro, it's not even mixed. She will literally tell you, "Okay, Taro, I like you, I love you, this, that, and the other thing," and then the next day punch you in your mouth. The day after that, tell you she like her. God knows who else. And it just bothers me. It bothers me so much because I'm the type where it's like if you told me that, right? If I had a crush on you or whatever, and you told me that you liked me, but then the next day I catch you and you're pursuing some other love interest, that's it. I'm telling you right now, couldn't be me. Absolutely not. No way. And I know some people will be like, "Oh, come on, man," but they're young, they're this and that. Bro, you in college,
Yep.
that's not the same. Okay, if you did it overtly, like you did it where I couldn't see it or whatever because you were still confused in your head. At least you were confused in your head. Okay, but you spoke the words to me. You roved me in in this situation. There's no way I'm going to be fine after that. There's no way. You know what I mean? Like you can't be okay after that. Even if somehow, which in this case they did get together. I don't know. God God bless every man that's in a situation like that. But I'm telling you right now, somehow they ended up together. Keitaro in his mind is sitting there like, I swear to God, if you even mention mention that sensei's name one more goddamn time, I'm going for milk. Like that's it. I'm telling you. It's
So
crazy.
Danelle's favorite parts about not Tsunderes, but more so what happens to Tsunderes is usually the part where people tell them, "Hey, yo, this is your fault."
Hmm.
Danelle loves those
I
things.
relish.
I
Relish.
would definitely say Louise probably gets the most of those out of the three, which is another reason why she's probably lower on the list. But I think it's also part of the reason why most people tend to think Tsunderes have understandable flaws because it's not like the story always says that they're right. The problem is that they say that they're right too often.
Hmm.
And that's the part that Danelle has an issue with. If you watch something like My Hero, Bakugo is a male tsundere, but he gets told he's wrong constantly.
Hmm.
And so even if we hold a grudge on him for what happens in episode one, he realized very quickly he was out of his element. And that was part of why season 1 was so interesting, is seeing that, like, hey, listen, when Yadeku Izuku was in like like middle school and shit, and he's out here thinking that he can't do anything. He's the one that ends up with the most friends when they get to high school, and Bakugo's the one with like barely two. And so, like, when you look at Tsunderes, they don't get the same type of harsh reality check that someone like Bakugo needed to be a better person. And Louise gets it probably better than the other two. And by what I mean by that is everyone is constantly telling Saito that he's great except for her. And then they have to tell her, hey, yo, listen, though, like, if you don't want him, I'll take him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, no, seriously, he's like the best familiar a person could have, because A, he can talk, and then B, he's a person that can, you don't have to train because he's a person.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time too, because he constantly has people that like want his help with stuff, and he's apparently like a chosen savior one, because anyone with the mark that he has on his hand is supposed to be destined for greatness and saving the world. Louise, before Saito showed up, was essentially the laughing stock of the school. So where it's definitely hard to watch, because it's like, yo, you're treating this man like garbage, and you know what it's like to feel like garbage. Naru and Kagome don't have that type of reality check, so to speak, where like their lives aren't terrible before the guy shows up. But Louise's life was essentially fixed by Saito showing up, and so it hurts more when she's treating him like garbage, which is why by the end of season 2 and most of season 2, they're split apart. Like, they're not near one another. In fact, they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to get back together. And she's realizing very quickly, yeah, no, Saito saved my ass a
Hey,
lot.
yo, I'm
Like,
useless.
yeah,
Hey, yo,
yeah,
I'm useless. I'm gonna call a spade a spade. Saito was out here just hard carrying her on his back,
yep.
because when he wasn't there, she would cast anything and it would blow up in her face. That's
Mhm.
it. Saito came in with the sword work out of the blue and was just like, all right, bet. Like, the man became him in
Yeah,
that world
he was
essentially.
fighting trained mages, and granted, in the beginning of the first season, they're all students. By the time you get to season 2, like, he's essentially like on par with war veterans. Like, he's
That's what I
that
mean.
good. And so when season 3 happens, and he's no longer her familiar because that contract was broken by something I'm not going to mention right now because it's a spoiler for anyone that wants to see it, she's essentially no longer having the leverage over him that she used to have. And that puts into perspective for herself, what does Saito actually mean to her now that she can't view him as a pet?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot more of the respect does start to get built up, and where they don't want to entirely get rid of her character. So she's still, like, I mean, it's not, you did a good job, I guess, like, blah blah blah. Like, whether or not that's something you want to hear after you risk your life for someone is, I wouldn't really call it debatable. It's not what you want to hear, but it's, to me, I market that more towards, they needed to keep her character in line for the character's writing to work. But
Mm-hmm.
still, that's now just becomes a personal issue of how far of a tsundere soon-isms are you willing to tolerate as a viewer. But then you get like Kagome and Naru, where I find their soon-isms are a lot worse,
Mm-hmm.
because Tsunderes like Louise are kind of predictable. And more to the point, they don't have anything testing their love, so to speak. Louise doesn't get like a guy fawning over her to where Saito gets jealous. He definitely gets jealous sometimes, but that's more so like Louise herself isn't actually into any of those guys. Like, she doesn't have like a crush like Naru does. And she doesn't have a fake love interest like Kagome does, who
Oh
gets
my
it. That
god.
one's the worst.
Yo, I didn't even bring that up.
Yeah.
My boy
Koga.
it's Koga,
Koga,
right?
yeah.
My boy Koga got the the worst treatment. That man got Yamcha worse than Yamcha.
Yeah.
I'm
And he's
not.
also a wolf motif
That's what I'm
too.
saying, right? That's what I'm saying. He got Yamcha worse than Yamcha. This man only got brought up when Kagome needed something.
Yeah.
Only. And whenever she wanted to make Inuyasha
Inuyasha.
jealous, only time. But
Mhm.
what got me the most, and it's the reason why I can't feel too bad for him, this man came in clutch for Kagome every time. Like, hey, yo, what's up? I heard I heard
Yeah.
Inuyasha messed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the man was ready at any given moment. He's like, "Hey, yo, listen, just say the word. Whenever you drop Inuyasha, I'm here. Even
Yup.
if it's for a minute, an hour, like 2 days. I'm I'm in. That's it. He doesn't care. That man is head over ankles. It doesn't. I'm just sitting there like, oh, I want to feel bad for him, but I can't feel that bad for him because he's playing himself, and it doesn't help that this man, like when I say he comes running in to save the day for Kagome, I mean it literally. This man, dead ass, Sonic runs from wherever he is to somehow find Kagome and be a side chick. Like,
Oh yeah, and
I
like
just,
I feel so bad for
oh
Koga,
my
but like at the
god.
same time, I think he's a perfect embodiment of the problems with Kagome as a female lead. Not necessarily that like her writing is bad, and more so that like if you don't like her, he doesn't make it better because his existence justifies her bad everything. Because it's like there's no comeuppance now. A
Mhm.
character like Louise, as soon as Saito's removed from the picture, bam, like she has to face the fact that like, oh shit, I've definitely mistreated this dude, and now I have to pay for the fact that I'm useless without him. Kagome, oh, if I'm mad at Inuyasha, here's Koga.
Yeah,
There you go.
literally. Literally. Like, imagine if Bulma did that. Like, oh, I'm mad at Goku. Well, we got second best,
Yep. Yeah, yeah.
pulling Vegeta out of the woodwork. Like,
Right?
no, people would look at Bulma like, you dirty god. You know what I mean? No way. But with Kagome, everybody looks at it like, oh my god, I like Kagome so much. She's this, she's that. I'm just sitting there like, excuse me, do you not see the same thing that we are seeing here? Like, she played she played Moroku. I don't know if people remember that. She played
Moroku.
Moroku like a fiddle. Like
Yeah.
she's out here, she's throwing it to anybody that'll catch it if it gets her if it gets her forward or ahead of life. Okay,
Yeah.
she did the same thing to Koga. She did the same thing to Inuyasha. The only difference is Inuyasha ain't there by choice.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't even know. She's done it to more people. What's the name of that boy from her world?
Oh god!
Yeah, yeah. She's playing both sides.
Oh
Both sides of
no.
the world. She's got a twofer in every world she comes in.
Oh
She's got the
no.
spare, the backup, and the backup for the backup.
I'd say it's even worse though for that human boy because it's like, yo, how is he supposed to compare against Dog Demon?
Yeah,
How's he
right?
supposed to compare against even Wolf Demon? Like with
Yeah.
the shit.
That lipstick go crazy though. I'm telling you.
Oh, Jesus, dude. Yo, that's so. I completely forgot about Human Boy.
Yeah, so did she.
Oh no.
I'm telling you, man. Yo, people don't realize it. Kagome was a bad person, okay? She was a bad person. Everyone just goes, no, she's misunderstood. She's a teenager. She's this, she's that. She was a bad person. She cared about her friends. That's great. That's it.
She's not even really that smart, and like I'm not calling her stupid, but
Bro,
like
what do you mean not even that smart? She said, all right, I handled a bow, an arrow before. Let me just cock this thing up and fire real quick at this demon I've never seen before in my life and shoot the Shikong jewel.
okay, but I what I mean
Let me
more so.
also, oh, I don't know, there's a freaking dog man, staked to a tree. What type of common sense led you to go up there and bother him when he said screw off? It's, oh, but your hair and eyes, though. I like him. He told you to screw off. It's so stupid. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm trying to understand. It's like for a girl that's like, it's one of those things where it's like 100 intelligence, zero perception. You
Yeah.
know what I
Oh
mean?
God. Yeah.
Super smart, dumb common sense.
Yeah.
Like just
Yeah.
non-existent. Like, that's what I mean. Like I can't. Kagome bothers me on such. I might move Kagome up again. I might move her up above Naru. I'm not gonna lie.
Okay, here's why I say you'll probably still keep Naru above Kagome. Again, Kagome, granted, like we just said, Koga justifies a lot of her bad actions. At
Mhm.
the same time, though, Inuyasha does not take her shit. Like, whether or not you want to say love makes people stupid is fine, whatever. It is technically true. But like Kagome and Inuyasha at least have a back and forth. Like
Mm-hmm.
Inuyasha doesn't take shit from most people. The only reason he can take Kagome's shit is because of the whole sit boy. Like it's like essentially having a collar around someone and you can yank it at
She's
any
got a
point mid
superpower that only
conversation.
works on him.
Right? So at least in his case, he kind of needs the backbone because he's already demasculated by the collar. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. But then you get like Naru and Keitaro, like any time if this man just didn't want to take it anymore, she just kind of broke where it was like, oh shit, like he's actually mad for once. And
Mm-hmm.
like she can't say anything now because it's like he essentially has to forgive her himself because she can't say anything nice to fix it. Like, like I think that's technically worse in the long run because you're essentially saying he has to always take it, and if at any point he doesn't take it, he has to let it go.
I'm just sitting here, and what annoys me the most is the lack of oh my god, what's the word?
Retaliation.
No, not even that. Jesus Christ. So, as an example, right? There was an episode where in Inuyasha where Kagome and Inuyasha got into a fight, right? And they're in an area that is basically like there's demons all over the place. They know this. You know how they constantly travel and camp out in these little areas
Yeah,
they
yeah.
find, whatever, right? So they know there's demons, right? Kagome, with the lack of common sense that she has, gets into a fight over something super mundane, and then says "sit boy" on him, to him on purpose while he was carrying, I don't know if it was like some big ass boulder or whatever it is. Basically, folded his back. You remember that? Just messed his back straight up, and dude couldn't move. And then what'd she do? She got captured. Got captured by the demons that she knew were in the area, all because of pettiness. And you'd think after this man with his busted back and all this stuff went out of his way at the end of the episode, saved her, got her back. Do you even an apology? Um, anything? You know, common courtesy. Like I'm trying to understand. It's hey, I know I messed up. I know I shouldn't have said sit boy and I did and it led to all this stuff, but you came, you saved me anyways. I just wanted to say thank you. You know what it was? You stupid and then sit like at the end of all of that. So just the lack of learning anything from that situation. Like there was zero accountability, not even trying to make up for earlier in the episode. It's just let's go back to doing the stupid thing that put us in this situation all over again because screw you, I'm right, you're wrong, and whether you think otherwise, you're incorrect. Like that's it. Even when
Yeah.
she knows she's wrong, she still says she's right, or will basically just say some other like insult and then sit boy and then move on. And it's not even just Inuyasha. That's what bothers me. She does it the most with Inuyasha, but if you notice, she does it to other people too. That's what I'm trying to understand. Like it's not even just an Inuyasha Kagome dynamic. It's a Kagome anybody dynamic. Whenever it's like she has to have some sort of control with everything, or
Yeah.
oh, I'm right, you're wrong, even though you're not even from this time period. You don't really know everything that's going on right now. She will make it seem as if she does. And because of that, she tries to play decision maker a lot of the times, even at the protest of Moroku, Sango,
Shit,
and
bro.
Inuyasha. Even Shippo calls her out sometimes. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, we went along with it. And guess what? We're running for our lives now. You know what I mean? So it's just like that level. It's just so crazy to me. I'm like, man, listen, she comes in clutch sometimes. She does. Right. I'll give her that. It happens. And if it does happen, it is what it is. She did a good thing, but the problem is like you can't disregard all the bad based on the 1%.
That moment when we like your daughter more than you.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
People hate Kikyo more than Kagome, and that makes zero sense. It actually makes no sense.
Yeah.
Kikyo and Kagome were set up to dislike each other. That's what actually happens.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the reason she despises Inuyasha, or at least she did,
Hmm.
because they were set up. But then she gets so much hate for things that are literally out of her control. But then Kagome gets all this praise and attention, even though she's the reason for a lot of the problems.
Oh
It's
yeah.
so backwards. It's so backwards. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Mind you, Kagome worked off of half the info. Kikyo worked off with the wrong info. Because that's the whole reason everything started.
Yeah.
Inuyasha gets chained to that tree because she was lied to thinking he betrayed her.
Hmm.
Versus Kagome, who's like, yeah, I don't have the full information, but I'm gonna make a decision anyways. Whoops, caused this problem.
Like, that's what I'm trying to understand.
I will say I think Kagome has an issue the other two don't, in that her series needs stuff to return back to neutral far more often. Naru has it somewhat, which is part of the reason why I say like Louise's issues are only in like season 1, and then season 2 it's more an issue of her character writing rather than her just being a bad person.
Hmm.
Because with Kagome, I'm pretty sure Inuyasha is over like 200 chapters, maybe even 300. You can't have your MC change too much in too quickly of a time span. Otherwise, how else are you going to write them going forward? So a lot of her changes don't really happen until like the final season, to where she gets better. Otherwise, you're going to deal with a long time where Kagome is really
See, that's
annoying.
my point, though. That's my point, though. Like, she did get better towards the end of the season, right? But it's just the fact of having to go through so much of it. It was like a slog. I'm like, I'm tired of seeing this girl screw up, and then everyone just like, well, it's Kagome. It's whatever, I guess. Write it off. Like, I can't do that. But I don't know. I feel like it's because with Inuyasha, the fandom is what made Inuyasha as big as it is, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't the series. Because let's be real, like Inuyasha was good as a series, but it wasn't good enough, like to that degree, right? But the fandom basically picked up Inuyasha and went freaking ballistic over it, because for the time, Inuyasha was like the Vampire Diaries. It was like the Game of Thrones. Like, people saw it and obsessed with it, and the fandom made me hate Kagome more than I already did, because I already disliked her. But then when I'd see people in like certain communities and stuff, just basically just vouching for her and talking about how she's such a nuanced character, blah blah blah, all this stuff. Someone's response to me disliking Kagome was, "Oh well, what do you expect? She's a high school girl, she's outspoken, and she's kind of spoiled, like that's part of her character. You shouldn't hate her for it." And I'm like, excuse me, you just named a bunch of traits and things as to why I should dislike her, and you're telling me why I dislike her. I don't understand it. That's like me saying, "Oh, what do you mean? She's a high school girl. She's naive. She's brash. She's abusive. She's this. She's that. Why would you dislike her?" And I'm like, "What?"
Danel's one of the few people you'll ever come across who understand he never dislikes a character for misunderstanding their character. He hates characters because he fundamentally does not like them.
Yeah, like I can acknowledge a character being a good character, whether that's good or bad, right? Like, there are villains I like, there are heroes I like, there are, random characters in between that I like. I can acknowledge that they're good characters, written good characters. But that
Yeah.
doesn't mean I'm going to tell you that you're a good character, as in I like you. That if you have character flaws, I'm going to call you on them. There's a difference between having good good flaws, bad flaws, and flaws that are being worked on. I feel like if you have bad flaws, but the characters are working on them, or it's addressed in some way as to why
Yeah.
they are like why they act the way they do, stuff like that. That's fine, right? There's reasons to it. It's okay. There's nuance in everything. But what I'm saying is, when a character is inherently bad, and then someone tells me they're good, and then list a bunch of things that are bad and tell me they're good, I'm lost, because logically that does not compute to me. That doesn't make any sense, right?
Yeah.
So I have to question it, and I got annoyed because obviously I'm not really in those spaces now, but when I was, like way back in the day, like I used to read like like I'm talking old forums and stuff like that. There was, I can't remember the name now, but there was like an old Inuyasha like Kagome like hate fanfic forum
Yeah.
specifically. I was in there, man, and those were my people. Okay, I talked to them on a regular basis. I was just sit there reading stuff, but my point is, I'm not really involved in the community like that right now, but I was. And when I used to see things like that, it used to bother me. And it's not like it hasn't changed. It's still the same thing, right? Like with any anime communities, you have characters that people will basically fawn over, disregard any of the flaws, but that's not my problem. My problem is if you are biased, if you like the character just for the sake of liking them, just say that. It's
Yep.
fine. I
I
don't,
do that all the time.
you can like whoever you want to like. I like characters that are terrible. But I'm going to tell you I'm biased. Yeah, I know they're terrible. I like them, right? That's it. Even if they're written horribly, I'll tell you I like them. There's no reason why I like them. But the problem is people will come up to me, tell me, I like this character. Why do you hate them? And I'm like, I hate them because of X, Y, Z. Why do you like them? And they go X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, hmm? Excuse me?
Yeah.
Does it make any sense? And
I
they
hate
try
this
to,
character for being selfish, abrasive, and a fundamental liar. I love this character because they're loud, always think they're right, and don't take shit.
that's
And
what I'm
Nels is like, you just said what I said differently.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, right? And I'm like, listen, if you like a character, just say that you like the character. It's fine, but like, don't question me as to why I dislike the character when there's obvious reasons to dislike the character. You should be surprised at yourself for liking the character rather than the other way around, right? Like when people liked Bakugo in the beginning of the series, if you liked Bakugo, you were just mad. Like you were, you know what I mean? Like you were just a little loopy, right? It's fine to like him, but don't tell me that I like him because he's like some great character. Beginning Bakugo is like an angered freaking, what do you call it? Like an angry filled roid rage teenager or
Yeah.
whatever. He was just an ass.
Bakugo
If you
at the
like him
beginning
for
was
being an ass,
absolutely just
just
an
say
ass.
that.
And mind you, this is not because I think a lot of people too, when the season one aired for My Hero, manga was obviously way past where season two ended up covering. But like people have the later context of like the sports festival. And
Mhm.
so they're looking at season one and telling people, nah, but Bakugo is great though. And people had just saw him tell a kid to jump off a roof.
That's what I'm saying. And I'm like, listen, if you like him, just like him because he's nuts and say that. Don't sit there and like try to tell me some deep underlying whatever as to why he's actually a good character when you haven't seen that yet or there's nothing that has shown that. You know what I mean? Like stuff like that. If you like him, just say you like him because you do. It's okay. People like characters that do crazy shit all the time.
Oh
You know what
yeah.
I mean? But like that's not my issue. My issue is when I call a spade and then someone tells me no, it's a shovel and I'm like I can't, like I don't get it. I can tell you that like again, like with Naru, Kagome, whatever, I could tell you they're fundamentally flawed. It's hard to like them for good reason. If you like them, that's okay. But don't tell me that my reason for disliking them is somehow not viable, like it's not acceptable. Because I had a group in Darian's Discord
Yeah.
when I mentioned that I disliked Kagome, was like, what? What is he nuts? Or like, what did they say? Like something. They said something.
I well, for one, said that you were weird, but then also it was just like, what happened? And then when I told them exactly why you had an issue with them, just like, yo, your brother has a weird past, and I. To explain the past, just need to know that the dog shit hits a little too close to home for Danelle.
Yep.
But I think it's a good part to bring up in that Danelle's biggest issue with Tsunderes has to deal immensely from the disproportionate retaliation. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you grow up as a kid, I think girls have heard of very oftenly, oh, he pulled your hair because he likes you. Guys also hear very similar things. The reason she's so mean to you or throws rocks at you is because she likes you. When you're a kid, getting rocks thrown at you, that's the last thing you want to hear. Because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
no, make her stop. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't ask for this. like long story short, when I was a kid back in Jamaica, this one elementary school I went to, there was this girl in my class. I didn't know if she liked me or disliked me. All I know is when she spoke to me, she sounded like she freaking hated me. Okay? She would basically talk shit to me every time I opened my mouth for class. And then one day, I'm leaving class, and this girl is standing on the other side of the playground with freaking rocks. And she starts whipping rocks at me, and I'm starting to run away and whatever else. And I tell my grandmother about it and my cousin about it, and they're all like, "Oh yeah, she probably likes you." And I'm like, "What type of stupid way of showing affection is that?" And then she's like, you don't know. Kids don't know how to express their feelings, so they act out, they lash out. That's how they show they like you. And I'm like, by throwing freaking rocks?
Mind you, they were indeed correct years later, like years later when Danelle had come
Yes.
back, but it still didn't change the fact that you don't want rocks whipped at you.
But that's my point, though, right? So that ingrained in me a hatred for things like that, where it's like, oh, I like you, but I'm gonna hurt you because I'm not a grown ass adult that can convey my feelings. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that made me hate it more. But that's kind of the reason why I can kind of give Louise a pass more than the other two,
yeah.
because I look at it like, okay, Louise is still young, right? So even though I hate this like the stuff she says, I don't hate it as much because she's still young. I'm like, okay, she's dumb. It is what it is. But when I see it with these characters like Kagome, um, I know Kagome is actually younger than they portray her, but when they bring her out, they make her look older. They make her look mature and
Yeah.
all this stuff, right? When I see her doing it, and when I see Naru doing it, Naru's a grown ass woman. She's in college, right? I'm like, yo, listen, there's no reason for this anymore at this point. It's just, the Japanese culture. They basically took this as a trend, and somewhere along the lines, it went further beyond what it should have been. Realistically, they took the tsundere archetype and basically went, all right, so instead of just being someone that's misunderstood and can't communicate their feelings, it's we're gonna make this character like literally unlikable or borderline unlikable. And then later on, we're gonna throw some sprinkles of like, oh yeah, they do have feelings. They've got a troubled backstory. I don't even care. Like,
They they,
like really, because
they
my
thought
point
let's
is,
combine Asuka with Akane, and if people don't know who Akane is, Rumiko Takahashi's Rama One Half came out before Inuyasha, and Akane is to me a better Kagome because at least she's so weird because she's actually everything we don't like about Naru and Kagome, but where the both of them are worse, she works by having her own Inuyasha in Ranma while also liking a different, like someone else, like Naru, where she likes her teacher, and Ranma and her are forced to get married. So it makes sense why they don't get along in the beginning. Like they literally don't like each other, which
mhm.
is again the problem with a lot of tsunderes nowadays. Is I find a lot of the better ones work when they don't like the MC at the beginning, like at
But
all.
see, that's
Danelle
my
likes
point though.
Taiga from Toradora.
Yes, I love Taiga. I do. And it's a simple, like, the distinguishing factor here is like, what I can't understand is when the Soons are supposed to like the main character,
Yeah,
like right off the bat, they like him and they treat him badly and all this other stuff, and then the main character likes them.
yeah,
And it's not even, they haven't even had their character arcs yet where they build on that character, show you backstories or give you exposition or anything. It's just they've seen this character behaving badly and go, okay, well, I kind of like her now. And I'm just like, what? I can't understand it. But then if you take like Taiga as an example, she legitimately didn't like the main character in the
yeah,
beginning.
Ryuji.
She grew to like him, and in thus liking him, starting to open up more to him. And then once she opened up to him, yo, she was down for him. Taiga was literally that man's little bodyguard. I loved it.
Yeah,
Anytime someone talked down to this man, she would come up like, "Hey, yo," like literally. like I couldn't. She was like the definition of like ride or die by the end of the season, and I loved it. I really did.
Taiga to me is a return to form of what tsundere is supposed to be when I actually looked up the history of what tsunderes are supposed to be. And I think comedy ruined tsunderes because comedy is the reason why stuff like Naru happens at all. And to me, that kind of ruins the depth that tsunderes had originally, where, like Asuka, they're not supposed to like the MC. But where Asuka is the direction most tsunderes went without realizing Asuka doesn't like Shinji, she respects Shinji. The rest of them are like, yeah, no, I love this guy, but also piss off and die. And it's like, that doesn't make any sense.
Hmm.
A tsundere I like a lot, and Danelle would agree with me, is Akina from UFO Ultimated Valkyrie. She
Oh
is an
yeah.
aggressive tsundere, but she's
Uh-huh.
not to the MC. She's to
Hmm.
everyone else if they ever reveal the fact that she likes the MC.
Yeah. Yeah, no, she was great, honestly. Like she would also stick up for him, defend him, in a lot of the situations they were put in. Yo, even fight for this man. Like it got pretty crazy sometimes. But the only time she became like, oh my god, no, no, I don't like him like that was is if it got brought up and she wasn't prepared to talk about it.
Yeah.
But other than that, like even when she did like talk about it too, you could tell that she legitimately cared about this man so much, and it was really nice to see. But then the moment that moment's gone, it's like snap back. All right, the soon is back out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was always great.
But she's never rude to him, is the thing that makes her work where others don't, right? To
Mm,
me, if you like someone, the amount of vitriol that a lot of tsunderes have makes zero sense. There's I can't communicate, and then there's no, no, this is just straight up you're giving someone the wrong impression. Because
mhm,
Akina works. Whenever she's trying to come off like she doesn't like him, she's trying to play it off like they're just friends, but she genuinely does like him. So it works in that sense of she can't communicate her feelings properly. Also, the fact that he's betrothed to somebody else, so you can't do
she
anything
can't
about
do
that,
it anymore.
right? But like when you take a character like Toradora's Taiga, where she didn't like him at the beginning and then does, her literally having to deal with the fact that she realizes she likes him is a character arc in and of itself. And once it's done, she's there now. Like she's no longer rude to him, where before it might have just been like a small outburst for like an episode, and then the next episode she's fine. And she even apologizes. A lot of tsunderes, because it's played off as comedy, the need to apologize is no longer a factor because now it's just taken as, yeah, it's just a thing that happens. Asuka not apologizing to Shinji makes sense when it's A, not supposed to be comedy, and B, she hates his guts. But
Hmm.
when you take someone like Kagome and it's like, yeah, I know I broke your back, but like, we were fighting, so I was justified. It's like, no,
Hmm.
no.
See, that's the thing, right? It goes back to when you were talking about mixed signals, where
Yeah,
it just doesn't make sense because if you like this person, you shouldn't be treating them like the worst person on the planet. Like
yeah,
they always say that love and hate is a thin boundary, right?
yeah.
But that is completely going over the freaking border. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense. If these characters are supposed to be soon, they're supposed to like the main character, whoever, right? And I don't think it's the best way to communicate it. And even if you're not trying to communicate it, right? Even if you're trying to avoid the fact that you like them, that's still the worst way to go about it.
Oh yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense. If,
The
if you just
MC has to
if
be
you
a
just
saint.
ignored them, it would be better. If you just
Yeah.
ignored them, yeah, sure, it wouldn't make for much of a story. But I mean, if you made it so the character actually treated the MC like a human being, like maybe you're shy about it, maybe you don't want to talk about it or whatever, I would like that a lot more than just treating them like they're the most hated person on the planet and making them the butt of a joke because comedy deems it as funny. Yes, I get it's supposed to be funny, but I feel like it's washed like now. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's been a long time that has been the whole old school. I can't even call it old school because it's not really, like, it didn't start off that way. It just turned into that at some point, like in the early 2000s it turned into that.
Yeah.
And
It,
yeah, it's been goddamn like 20 years, man. I feel like we can take a step back from that in the comedy aspect. If we want Soons to be likable, maybe actually spend more time making them enjoyable to see on screen and not, oh, here we go, like it's an episode of Maury or something.
I think comedy, in spite of the MC, only works when the MC is terrible, like Kazuma. And mind you, I'm not saying terrible as in bad. I love Kazuma; he's great. I'm saying terrible because he's terrible,
Yeah,
and the
no, like
show
if the
makes a
character
point out of that.
deserves it, that's fine, right? The
Right, but
character asked
that's where the
for it.
problem keeps coming from is that every time they do this stuff to MCs like Keitaro, I'm like, he legitimately doesn't deserve this. This isn't
Yeah,
just, oh, this is a bad situation made worse by a misunderstanding. It's, no, this person is a good person. Why are you doing this to them? Like,
yeah.
they literally don't deserve it, which is why I always just, when I learned the term disproportionate retaliation, it made so many things make way more sense because like
Mhm.
when you watch like a Looney Tunes cartoon, a lot of that is disproportionate retaliation. That's the
Yeah.
point of the comedy. But then like when you're doing that to someone good, it doesn't feel as good as doing it to someone like Kazuma. When Kazuma deserves it after doing something stupid, you're like, I mean, yeah, he's also a massive pervert and would totally not think twice about drop kicking a woman. It's hilarious in the moment, but like at the same time, you're like, yeah, no, he kind of did deserve it, right? But when you're doing that to someone, and then I look at the scene and I go, okay, but like, why though? This guy didn't need that. A great example being Girls Bravo, which we also like. The first
Oh
episode
man.
has that, and then from that point onward, never again. Because the end of the first episode is the girl that knocked this man into the bathtub,
And she thought she
apologizing
killed
to
him.
God, going, please don't let him be dead. And once he comes out, she's hugging him. Mind you, she's half naked after just literally kicking this man into the bathtub for seeing her half naked. Because she's not even
Mhm.
thinking that anymore. She's just glad he's not dead. And that's the type of reaction you don't get out of someone like Naru, where Keitaro gets like blasted through 3 walls of concrete, and I'm out here like, yo, this man could actually be dead, and she's not even thinking that. She's like, well, he deserved it. He saw me half naked.
Yep.
What?
All right. We're coming almost to the hour and a half mark, so you want to wrap up here?
Wrap up as in like talk about the last thing? Because I'll be honest, I can actually get through that really quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you want to break it into another episode or not?
I guess we are like we only got like 9 minutes left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, we can do that.
All right. Okay, guys. We're gonna wrap it up here. We got another topic. We're gonna wrap that into another recording because we're already hitting around 1.5 hours right now, and we
Yeah.
don't want you guys to sit there and listen to the same thing for God knows how long. So we'll dice it up a little bit. Long story short, this wasn't supposed to be entirely about Soons, but that's
Yeah.
what happened. So you know, sorry about that. Not sorry.
I also want to bring up that I like Kiriko. From what I just mentioned at the end there with Girls Bravo, we both like her.
Yeah, no, she's
Part of the
great.
reason why we like her is exactly what I just said. As much as that first episode sets her up to be unreasonable, she's actually super reasonable the rest of the show.
Yeah. But that's really all I want from the whole Tsundere arc. I kind of just I want there to be a little bit more. What's the word? Is it introspective? No, no, no. I want there to be like moments where this character feels a little bit more real. I'm not aiming for realism. I
Yeah.
just mean, maybe take a step back from just basically trying to be the worst person in the room and having the main character like him anyways and all this stuff, like not being okay with the emotional, physical abuse and all this other stuff. It's not as bad in anime of today, but it still exists. It's still there. I just kind of want them to go back to how Soons used to be, where they were, basically not able to communicate their emotions. Therefore, they came off as standoffish, maybe even a little rude, whatever, right? But they weren't what they are now, where it's, a reason to basically belittle you, punch you, hit you, abuse you, or just make you feel awful, and then somehow come back and be like, okay, so yeah, you're we're together now. We like each other. Because I just get tired of seeing it, especially when you see like in these anime, there's always more than one option.
Yeah,
There's always
yeah,
the
yeah.
childhood friend, or there's always the other girl that shows up, or whatever, and they're always the better option. They're way nice. They love this man. They openly tell him most of the time, but oh no, I like the other girl because she punches me through walls every once in a while. That's what I'm trying to get away from. It just gets annoying to see. But all right, guys, we'll catch you in the next one. Bye.
Peace.